Let's start with the prayers. We'll chant Om 3 times. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramarthanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. We invoke the blessings of Lord Krishna to start this Gita series of talks. And Lord Krishna is the universal teacher. That's what it says in this prayer. Before we start the Bhagavad Gita session, we should remember the glory of Bhagavan Veda Vyasa. He is the one who classified the Vedas into 4 parts. The Vedas are the manuals for living, as well as a manual to know our real nature. But before his time, the Vedas were scattered. And he was the one who could categorize them into 4 Vedas and name them as Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda. Veda means knowledge. And it is believed that when God created this world, this universe, he gave the mankind, the Vedas also. These 4 Vedas have got 2 main sections. One is called as the Veda Purva, which mainly deals with the rituals which we all perform. We all have about 44 samskaras in life, right from birth to death. So those, what type of rituals we perform, what type of rewards we get from those rituals, that's all the bulk of the Veda. And that is called as Veda Purva Bhaga. That means the initial part of the Veda. Then there is another part which is towards the end of the Veda. It is called as Veda Antha Bhaga, which deals with the philosophy. Philosophy means it deals with the truth of 3 things: Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. And generally we find this truth is revealed in a textbook called as Upanishad. In the olden times, there were more than 1,200 Upanishads. And today we find the words, the sentences of about 200 of them. And all these Upanishads, even though they were from different schools in the Vedic schools of those periods, when we analyze these Upanishads, we understand that they are all talking of one truth principle. One truth. if you go through the Upanishads, you will all discover the same truth. One truth is being described in those Upanishads. Out of those 200 odd Upanishads which are available today, we can still study about maybe 108 of them in depth if you really want to. Shankaracharya has written commentary on about 10 Upanishads, and they are very, very famous. They are all talking about what is the essence behind the Upanishads. Sage Vyasa also wrote 18 Puranas and 18 Upapuranas. They also deal with Brahma Vidya, but they deal in a story form. Bhagavatam is a very, very famous Purana, which we all must have heard. Then there is another area called as Itihasa, which is historical. Mahabharata is a part of the Itihasa, and it consists of 100,000 shlokas. It is so beautiful, it is even considered as the fifth Veda. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which we are studying now, is a part of Mahabharata, which is about 5,000 years old. And Veda Vyasa also has written something called as Brahma Sutra. When we study the Upanishads, we find sometimes contradictions. In order to resolve those contradictions, Veda Vyasa wrote Brahma Sutras. Very, very important text for those who are interested in the spiritual science. So when we generally get into spiritual study, most of us, we just start with the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, because that is the most prominent of them and most very easy to understand initially. But then when we start studying the Bhagavad Gita, we find some difficulty because they use certain terminologies which is quite difficult to appreciate. Therefore, the acharyas, they recommend preliminary texts, and Shankaracharya has written two main preliminary texts. One is called as Katho, another is called Atma. Generally, students in the Vedic schools, they study these two texts before starting the Bhagavad Gita, because the terminologies used in the Gita are explained extremely well, and you get an idea of what this Atma we are discussing. So those of you who are not familiar with these two texts, my recommendation is you can study at least the Katho. There are 5 sessions. I have the videos of those in the YouTube. I would advise you just go through those 5 sessions and then you start this, or you can just continue this and then simultaneously you can study the Katho. Many of you have studied with me the Katho, Atma, Drigdrishya Viveka. Now this is the 4th text which I am doing, which is the Bhagavad Gita, which will go on for 6 months. What Vedas say is that all human beings, they have 4 Purusharthas, which are called as goals in life. The first one is dharma. Dharma means whatever we are supposed to do in life as a duty to maintain harmony in the society. If I'm a father, I look after my parents. I look after my children. I work in the society. I contribute to the society. So that portion of our duty in life is called as dharma in Sanskrit. So one of the goals, the first goal is to maintain dharma. So that is what our parents have taught us, our elders have taught us. Then the second goal is artha. Artha means earning wealth. This is to maintain the family, maintain ourselves, maintain the body, maintain our house, and have a reasonably good life. Then what comes in our way of life, in our goals of life, is to fulfill our desires. All of us are born with desires. The moment we are born, there are vasanas, there are impressions in our mind, which has been coming from birth to birth. And those impressions, they fructify into thoughts, and the thoughts, they become desires. Fructified thoughts in the mind are called as desires. So throughout our life, you will find desires keep on coming. What we desired when we were young, 8-year-old, 15-year-old, 40-year-old, 60-year-old, the desires keep on changing, but the desire, the power of desire never stops in us. The objects of desires change, but the will to desire keeps on going throughout our life. So one of the goals is to fulfill the desires. This is where the Veda Purva Bhaga comes into play, and then they tell us how to do some rituals and gain what we want in life in terms of children, in terms of house, in terms of well-being. All that is said in the Veda Purva Bhaga. Generally, what happens around 35 years old, when we are 35, 40 years old, maybe, we have gone through life with dharma, artha, and kama, which gives us prosperity in life. We have seen life, what it can give, and then a feeling comes to us that I am still not happy. This is where, when this feeling comes in us, Veda says you have one more goal in life, which is called as moksha. Moksha means freedom from identification to the body and our mind. It is possible for us to live well without the identifications to our body and mind according to the scriptures. We can have a wonderful life. That life is called as a Jivan Mukti life. So the first three goals give us prosperity in life. The last goal gives us the freedom to live as per our real nature. This is the area of our study, Moksha Shastra. So one universal goal, whether you live in Poland, whether you live in South Africa, whether you live in Brazil, India, Singapore, wherever you live, one universal goal is we all want to enjoy happiness, continuous happiness, not happiness for one day and then sorrow for the next day, again happiness, again sorrow. We want continuous Nitya Ananda. That means we want joy all the time. And then we do not want to have sorrow. Anytime sorrow comes to us, our mind becomes turbulent. We don't know how to react. This is where Katho Upanishad, one of the very famous Upanishads, describes our predicament. And it says that there are three defects when we try to seek happiness in the world, in the external world. Number one, dukkha mishritatvam in Sanskrit means life is a mixture of joy and sorrow. So this is the reality for us. Throughout our life, just look back and think whether there was a time when we had all the joy but no sorrow at all. It's not possible. This is the first dosha, defect. The second dosha, which Kathopanishad says, in life we'll see that we are never satisfied. Now this is called as atripti karatva. Atripti karatva means total fulfillment, not total fulfillment in life from the external world. This is the second problem. And the third problem is bandhakatva. Bandhakatva means objects and beings, they create a bondage. When I try to enjoy something, suppose I enjoy music, I get addicted to music. I want to listen to music maybe initially for 1 hour, but later on it wants to be for 2 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and so on. Or watching TV, for example. All of us are used to watching TV. Every day at 8 o'clock in the evening, we want to watch the TV. It becomes a habit. And that habit formation is called as bandhakatva. Whether it is to eat a dish, whether I want to have a rasgulla in the restaurant, whether I want to watch TV, whether I want to, it can be any types of sense objects. So these are the three doshas which the rishis discovered, and they said there must be something else in life. It cannot be that life is only sorrow. Coming and going, in between we have happiness. So then they looked deep within their mind, and what they discovered was that happiness is not outside in the world of the sense objects, and they discovered that the freedom from sorrow is inside. Inside means inside our mind. And when they discovered this, that is called as that joy which they discovered in their own mind, deep within their mind, they called it as consciousness, pure awareness. That discovery is called as Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. What does this sentence mean? This sentence comes in Brahma Jnana Valli Mala. Very beautiful text of Shankaracharya, where he describes that this truth called as pure consciousness, awareness, he calls it Brahman. And he says that the reality actually is that this pure consciousness, pure awareness is the truth. It's a supreme divine knowledge. If that is the truth, what is the world which I'm experiencing every day? What Shankaracharya says is this world which we experience is coming and going, Agama Pahi. That means it comes during the waking state and then it goes off in the sleep state. Because it is coming and going, there is no sustenance for the same. He says it is an appearance. This is a unique discovery in Vedanta. There exists Atma, or there exists pure consciousness. There exists awareness principle, which is always there. Eternally it's there. No change. And the waking experiences the dream experience, the sleep state experience come and go. This knowledge of the truth is called as the divine knowledge. That is what Lord Krishna wants to teach. This is the central theme of the entire Upanishads and any spiritual text which you take up in India or anywhere else. You will find that what they are trying to discover, what they are trying to tell us or teach us, is to analyze the jiva. That means who is this person in this body? What is the world which is being experienced? And who is the creator of this wonderful world? When we analyze these three, we find out that we discover that there is a substratum, there is a underlying principle which is called as God. In religion, it is called as God, and in philosophy, it is called as Brahman. In simple English, it is called as awareness. Pure awareness without the body, without the mind, without the universe. We all experience this in our sleep state, but we don't know that that is my real nature. So, coming back to the two goals of Bhagavad Gita, just to tell in short, this is said in every chapter of the Gita. At the end of the chapter, Lord Krishna says that it is a yoga shastra. Yoga shastra means it teaches the technique to lead a happy life. Every chapter of the Gita will teach us some aspect of how we should live in life. Then the second goal is Brahma Vidya. At the same time, we should also learn what is my real nature. Is body the real nature? Is my mind real? Are they permanent? But if I feel in my body there is something which has not changed, what is it? Throughout my life, I find I have not changed. Yesterday I was there, 5 years ago I was there. There is a continuous principle in me. I'm not able to put a finger to it, but the Vedas are trying to reveal that aspect to me. While revealing this, Lord Krishna says, you have to make self-effort. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are two verses. I will just show it in the next slide. He says, you extend one hand, I will extend my hand. That means you need two hands to shake, to join, to unite. So I need to put self-effort, and Bhagavan will say, I will give you my grace. Like a chariot, it requires two wheels to run. So we require two things in life. One is our own self-effort, and the second is Lord's grace. In the 6th chapter of the Gita, these are all just introductions to the general Bhagavad Gita. In the 6th chapter, Lord says, Uddharet atmana atmanam, na atmanam avasadayet, atmaiva atmana bandhuhu, atmaiva ripur atmanaha. What it says is, let a man lift by his own effort and never lower ourselves. Never criticize our mind. Our mind is extremely powerful. We should never say, criticize our own mind, because the same mind will help us to rise higher and higher. So, the mind is a friend of ours. Use the mind. It is an instrument given by God to us. I am the soul who is living in this body. And I am the soul who is trying to recognize who am I. And I have an instrument. One is the body, physical body is an instrument, is a upadhi, is a medium, which I use in the waking state. And the mind is another instrument in this connected to this body. So if I want to know my real truth about myself, I use these two mediums in the waking state. And then I listen to the scriptures. The scriptures are the pramanam. They are the source, like our eyes are the pramanam to see form. Our ears are the pramanam to hear the sound. The scriptures, like the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, the mantras there, they will reveal my nature to me. That is why they are called as mirror. Then in the 12th chapter, Lord Krishna says, Tesha maham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. So here he says, let your mind be fixed on this pure awareness, pure consciousness. Let your mind not think of the external world. You interact with the world when you need it. But at the same time, be aware that there is God principle in this body. That God is always with us. And if I can hold on to that God principle in our own hearts, I will never be lost in life. Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to reveal that God in our own self. And throughout the Gita, Lord teaches us, keep your mind calm. Samatvam yoga uchyate. In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he clearly says that try to keep your mind calm and then go through the life's experiences. Samatva means equanimity. And this equanimity is important to face situations in life. Whether it is good or bad, what Lord Krishna says is, keep the mind calm, then you will be able to face anything in life. And Bhagavad Gita is a beautiful text. Through various means, the Lord teaches us to keep the mind calm. Then next we go to Bhagavad Gita Dhyana Slokam. These are 9 slokas which we generally chant during the beginning of Gita study. I will just chant one verse and then I'll give you the meaning of all the 9 verses. If you know, you can also chant together. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayane Naswayam Vyasena Grititam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamutam Varshinim Bhagavad Ashtadasho Dhyayinim Ambattvamanuja Sandhanami Bhagavad Gita Bhavad Veshinim. This is sung in a rhyme. Many of you may be knowing this very well. What these 9 slokas are basically written by Madhusudana Saraswati, a very, very great Advaitic scholar who studied the Bhagavad Gita and then he wrote this Dhyana Slokam. Like Vishnu Dhyana Slokam is there, when we chant the Vishnu Parayanam, there is a Dhyana Slokam. That means we remember God in these forms and then we chant the Sahasranamam. We chant the 1008 names of Vishnu. Similarly, we chant the Gita Dhyana Slokam and we are basically in these Dhyana Slokas, we are trying to glorify Lord Krishna. In the first sloka, it says that this Lord Krishna is one who has taught Advaita. Advaita means that there is one reality in this world. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, they are three entities. But they have a common substratum, and that substratum is called as pure consciousness or Atma or Brahman. That consciousness is one. The consciousness behind your body and mind, consciousness behind my body and mind, your children's body and mind, they are all one consciousness. So this is the first verse which I chanted, and the meaning of that is Advaitam. It is taught, and he says it is taught in 18 chapters. So what is the central text of this whole Gita? If somebody asks you, you should be able to say the central theme is to reveal my nature. In all these 18 chapters, what I am going to study is what is my real nature, what is the nature of the world, what is the nature of the Creator. This is the essence of the whole Gita. There is something. It is not that there is division between the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. This you will find as the essence of the whole Gita. So what we are learning is, we are learning about Atma. We don't need to learn about our body because it's known. We don't need to know about our mind. That is also known. But there is a consciousness, the light of consciousness, which is revealing the mind to me. I am aware of all my thoughts. That consciousness is the revealer. That consciousness is only one. That pure awareness principle is only one in this entire universe. And I have to say, I am that pure consciousness, and then you will find a magical transformation in your life. Many students have come back and told me, when we come to know the knowledge of this Atma, we are able to discover our mind clearly. This is the practical benefit of this knowledge. And if we know this mind of ours, then we can go to the next step of purifying the mind. The first is to become aware of the mind. There are many techniques in the Bhagavad Gita where we will learn how to purify the mind, how to bring down the quantity of thoughts, how to improve the quality of our thoughts, how to change the pattern of our thinking. These are the practical benefits of studying the Bhagavad Gita. So that is the first benefit, the Dhyana Sloka. The second Dhyana Sloka says, Krishna lights the lamp of knowledge. Lights the lamp of knowledge means he reveals the inner principle of Atma to all of us. What is that? In which I see my thoughts. I know my emotions. What is that principle in this body? Through which the eyes are able to see forms, through which the ears are able to hear the sound. There is a light inside. That light is called as the consciousness principle. Now this consciousness principle is lit by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And he says it on one of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita. When it comes there, I will tell you the same thing. I will inform you which there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. And it says, I light the lamp of knowledge to all my devotees. The third Dhyana Sloka says that Krishna is the bestower of all our desires. Chanting the Bhagavad Gita gives punyam, according to Lord Krishna. Just chanting. Even if you don't know the meanings, if you know the chant, if you can just chant, a lot of people, they come and say, I want to learn chanting. Can I chant? And so on. So just chanting, learning to chant. Even if you chant 5 verses, 2 verses, 5 verses every day, it bestows our desires because it is a powerful, it is a powerful medium. The fourth sloka of Dhyana sloka says, it is the essence of the Upanishads delivered by the milkman. Milkman is the Lord Krishna. The Upanishads have got one goal, to reveal the Atma. The same Atma which is there in the Upanishad is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Upanishads are very, very difficult to understand if you don't know how to open up the mantras. Bhagavad Gita is also very similar. But what Veda Vyasa has done is, from the Upanishads, he has taken the essence and then he has written this beautiful 18 chapters, which makes it easy for a human intellect like us to understand this Atma principle. The fifth sloka says he is the teacher of not only one person, he was not a teacher for only Arjuna, but he is a universal teacher. The sixth verse says the ocean of samsara. Samsara means problems, human problems, which are basically caused by the human mind. And they can be crossed with the help of the ferryman, Krishna. The seventh sloka glorifies Lord Krishna as the destroyer of the imperfections in the mind. And how does he do it? By drinking the honey of the Gita. Very beautifully, Madhusudana Saraswati has written this Dhyana slokas. So when we study the Gita, it helps us to understand better what it is trying to reveal. And it says in the 8th verse, even the mute and crippled can cross the ocean of samsara, which means even if you have not able to, even if you don't have a great memory, even if you don't have a great, if you don't understand Sanskrit, if you don't understand some of the words, even then there will be some benefit which will come to you by the study of the Gita. All of us can study, all of us can get the benefit, is the promise of the Lord. Only thing is we have to put continuous effort, persistent effort, continuously listening to the scriptures. Shravanam is an extremely important method of learning the spiritual study. The last verse, it says, contemplate and meditate on the teaching of Gita for the moksha, which is what is called as the Moksha Shastra, which I explained before. Moksha means what? Freedom from identification. All of us can do it. We do it, we do it in our normal life also. When we are watching something, the TV, we are not identified with the body. When there is pain in the body, we are identified with the body. So we have a technique, our mind, we have in our, the intellect can live without identifying with without the body and without identifying without the mind. But there is one thing. We must hold on to something else. That holding on is we must take the step and hold on to Atma. Then it becomes easy to drop our mind, easy to drop our identification with the body. This identification dropping is something which just naturally happens when we progress in our spiritual study. Contemplation and meditation is a natural process when we have completed our Shravanam. Continuous listening of the scriptures, different forms, maybe Bhagavad Gita, maybe Upanishads, maybe Bhagavatam. And what all this they do is they purify my mind. The more the mind gets purified, the better I can understand the scriptures. This chart is telling us how many verses are there in the Gita. 701 verses. How many chapters? 18 chapters. 18 chapters, and what is the meaning in English and what is the meaning in Sanskrit? They both are given here. The number of verses are mentioned here, and how much time will you take to chant each chapter. There are some chapters which will just take 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes. Purushottama Yoga, one of the best chapters to chant daily is Purushottama Yoga, which is generally chanted before taking lunch or dinner. If you attend a Vedic school in Coimbatore or in Bombay, or you attend any Vedic camps, they will chant this whole 15th chapter, Purushottama Yoga. It consists of only 20 verses, and it is one of the highest knowledge Lord has given in that 15th chapter. And it takes only 7 minutes. If you learn to chant this by heart, then it will take you 7 minutes. So there are some chapters which are easy, some chapters which are more longer, like the 78 verses of the 18th chapter, or 72 verses of the Sankhya Yoga, the second chapter. They are two long chapters. They take a lot of time to learn. This chart is mainly meant for people who are trying to learn the Bhagavad Gita chanting, and they would like to continue to chant, learn to chant, and then slowly chant themselves. And then this is what generally we say, you start with the 12th chapter, because that is the easiest chapter to chant. If you want to learn chanting, the 12th chapter is the, again consisting of 20 verses, is 6 minutes of chanting. That's all. So then you will feel confident. Let me chant the 12th verse, let me chant the 15th verse, 12th chapter, let me chant the 15th chapter, and then you move on from slowly. That is how you learn chanting of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Upanishads, there are Mahavakyas. Mahavakyas means they reveal the truth of the nature of the jiva, my nature, and what is the nature of the Lord. My nature, the nature of the jiva, is called as tvam. Tvam in Sanskrit means you. In the Bhagavad Gita, they say there are 3 sections, and they are called as Shatkam in Sanskrit. Prathama Shatkam, Madhyama Shatkam, and Charama Shatkam. The Prathama Shatkam is from chapter 1 to 6. Madhyama means the middle one is from chapter 7 to 12. And the last section, the Charama section, is 13 to 18. And what scholars are saying is generally, predominantly, the first 6 chapters, they are describing the nature of the jiva, jiva swarupa. The second section is primarily, predominantly, Ishvara Sarupam. In between, there will be some jiva, there will be some jagat, all that will come, but predominantly the mantras, they reveal who is the creator. And the last section is describing how I can see the oneness, that is, how can I see the pure consciousness, pure awareness, which is the one which is revealing the jiva as well as Ishvara and the jagat. So Tat Tvam Asi is what is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Tat Tvam Asi is from Chandogya Upanishad. It is a Mahavakyam revealing the oneness between Ishvara and Jiva. Ishvara means the God principle, whatever it is. You can call it God, you can call it pure consciousness, you can call it Brahman, they're all names. But it exists, and that is the revelation of all the spiritual study which we do in the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. What I plan to do is, I'll just give you a simple overview, a bird's eye view of the Bhagavad Gita. I will explain to you in short what the 18 chapters are covering so that you get a glimpse. Today I want you to have a glimpse. A glimpse means, oh, Bhagavad Gita means if you're a newcomer to Bhagavad Gita, I know there are a lot of people who have registered for this series and they're completely new. They have not heard about the Gita also. Somebody from Poland, somebody from Brazil, somebody from South Africa, they all have registered. Somebody from the US. So what I want to do is just give a glimpse. And then what we will do every week is go chapter by chapter. I will first give you I have another 45 minutes today. So I will run through as much as possible. I think I should be able to finish it. The first 6 sections I said was 6 chapters is Jiva Swarupa. Jiva means you and me. We, as in Tattva Bodha, the first thing in Tattva Bodha which has been taught to us, I'll repeat again. All of us consists of 2 parts. One is the matter principle, which is the anatma, which is the matter means the gross body, the subtle body. This is said in the Tattva Bodha. Gross body is the outer body which we all can see. The subtle body is the one which I know but others cannot see. That is my mind. Then there is another body which is called as causal body. Causal body means neither I can see, neither others can see. It is the impressions which I have been gathering in all my lives. Not this life alone. All my previous life, I just carry it on from one life to another. This is how a jiva is described in the Veda. In the Vedic school, this is how you and me are described. There are 3 portions: gross body, subtle body, causal body. The gross body comes from the food which is eaten by the parents. The parents, they give birth only to the gross body, not to the mind. This is again from the Vedic school. This is Vedanta. The mind comes into the body every birth. The same mind keeps on coming again and again. That is the subtle body. The causal body also follows the mind. So this is what is called as Jiva Swarupa. In all this, there is awareness principle. There is awareness which is getting reflected in this. That is what is called as the life principle. That pure consciousness gets reflected and gives life to the gross body. It makes the sense organs see. It makes the mind work. It makes the intellect to think. That is the power of consciousness, which is what is my goal, which is what I want to discover. The first chapter, the title is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga means the sorrow of Arjuna. This is the title of the first chapter. And here, there are 3 things which they are trying to teach us. Number 1, first is what is the problem? What is the problem with a human being? Why does this problem come? The problem is Sanskrit is called as samsara. And they say that what Veda Vyasa has said in the Bhagavad Gita, in the first chapter itself, he says samsara is caused by 3 things. Number 1, raga. In raga in Sanskrit means attachment. Attachment to the relations. My son, my daughter, my mother, my father, all this, my house, my car. my laptop, my mobile, all this this, there is a lot of attachment to the whole universe of things and beings, which is called as raga. Second is shoka. When I have raga, what happens is this attachment, if I am able to hold on to the objects permanently, there's no problem. But unfortunately, the world is such that the objects and beings which I'm holding today, they are not there permanently. They leave me, which cause sorrow. Or the desires I have, I'm not able to fulfill. That causes sorrow. Moha, because of this sorrow, it gives me delusions in life. It causes delusions in my mind. So this triangle, the attachment, sorrow, delusion, this is the primary cause of all our problems. We must remember, according to Vedanta, all problems are experienced by us only in the mind. All. There are problems in the body, but there's a physical problem. That's a pain is a physical problem. But when it comes to joy and sorrow, it is a mental problem. It is a mind which is getting identified. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga means Arjuna is the hero of this. There are Lord Krishna, Arjuna is a student. He is a student and the teacher is Lord Krishna. We will see the history and all when we look at the chapter 1. At that time, you'll see the history of the battlefield and who is doing what and all that will come in chapter 1. But here I'm trying to just give you a rundown of the different chapters. So the first chapter tells us how universally for all of us problems come in life due to number 1, attachment, number 2, sorrow, number 3, delusion. This is the psychology behind the samsara. The second chapter is a brilliant chapter. I mean, if you were to say, which is one of the best chapters which I like is the second chapter. And the most important chapter in the whole Gita for you will be chapter 2, chapter 13, 14, 15. 4 chapters. If you can understand these 4 chapters, beautiful, very good. They will tell you who you are. They will give you the full description. These 4 chapters are the essence for jnanam. For knowing our real nature, these are the 4 chapters. The second chapter is called a Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means jnanam. And jnanam means awareness, pure consciousness. Arjuna, in this chapter, he surrenders to Lord Krishna and then says, "Oh Lord, now you tell me what I should do. I'm not able to control my mind, which has got problems." Then the Lord Krishna teaches him the knowledge of Atma, the knowledge of pure consciousness, awareness principle. Very, very brilliant section, which we will do when we do chapter 2. And that section between second chapter, the 12th verse to 25th verse is the Jnana Yoga part. All of you must learn this very well because that is the essence of the entire Gita. If you can understand this 12th verse to 25th verse, you have understood the whole Gita. The second chapter also talks about Karma Yoga. How do I do action in life? All of us have to do actions from birth to death. Nobody can stop actions. This is the law of the world. But we can do action mechanically without the knowledge of Atma, or we can do action trying to understand the Atma. For the purity of mind, I do action. When I want to purify my mind and I do all my actions, the attitude with which I do the action changes. From karma, which is action, mechanical action. It is transformed into karma yoga. And the transformation is only in the mind. My goal of doing an action is to purify my mind. Purify my mind. Purify my mind. We'll understand what the meaning of purity of mind means: clearing up my raga, dvesha, moha, all that delusions which I have in my mind. I want to clear them. I want to clear them. So that, why do I want to clear them? So that I can understand the truth of Atma. That is what is taught in the second chapter. The second chapter happens to be the summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. The author presents the whole Bhagavad Gita in the second chapter. So the third topic which was there was Karma Yoga. Then the last one is a very beautiful section. Question asked by Arjuna is, he says, suppose somebody knows the Atma very well, how does he lead his life? Suppose you become a jnani, you become a wise person, you have studied the entire 18 chapters of the Gita well. So if you do that, how will you behave? How will you sit? How will you walk? How will you think? How will you interact with the world? So that indicators are given in the section 54 to 72. Verse number 54 to 72 of the Bhagavad Gita second chapter tells us how a man of wisdom, he lives his life. And that is called as sthira pragya. Sthira means a person whose consciousness is sthira, whose awareness in the body is not chanchalam. Chanchalam means the wavering mind. Sthira means equanimity. You live, you see things with clearly in life. That is the man of wisdom. So a very beautiful section in the Sankhya Yoga chapter. Third chapter is Karma Yoga. This third chapter teaches us how I should do actions in life. All of us, like I said, we have to perform. But then there is a way to perform, and that they say is in a Karma Yoga way. Karma Yoga means what? With an attitude to purify my mind. And there are two ways in which you can do all actions. One is called as Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, and the second is Prasada Buddhi. Arpana Buddhi means what? I surrender. I do all my activities. I surrender them to God. Let God purify my actions. That is called an Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. I offer my actions to get my mind purified. There is some creator in the world who has created my mind. Let him purify my mind. I offer, even just telling in the mind, whether it is cooking, whether it is working in the office, whether it is walking on the street, whether it is eating, all actions can be with this attitude. And what happens when I get the result of action? That is called as prasada buddhi. I accept whatever I get as a result of my action. This is the action when it is done in this type of attitude is called as for the ajnanis, for the people who are not knowledgeable about Atma, but they want to realize the Atma. And how does the action of a jnani, what is it called? It is called as loka sangraha. That means when a wise man acts, it is for the benefit of the society. Whatever a wise man does, his actions are called as loka sangraha. It's very beautifully explained in this chapter. And then there's a very nice section which says, how do we conquer our mind? Master the mind, you can master the life. That's what they say. And two problems, all of us, universal problem is, how do I control my desires, conquer my desires? And the worst thing for us is, how do I control my anger? Lord Krishna says there are four methods. Sense control. That means I keep my eyes, ears, tongue, nose, all this, I keep them under control. mind control. I learn techniques to control the mind. Then the third one method he says is discriminate, vivekaha. Discriminate in your own intellect. Let the intellect dwell. What are the good things which will happen if I do this action? What are the bad things which will happen if I have this desire? Let the intellect dwell on them. Completely dwell on the desires. If I want to get rid of some aspect of my mind, dwell on the good and the bad, and then you will let the mind intellect understand how I will be if I don't have this problem. This will help to conquer our desires. The fourth chapter, the first 6 chapters, to repeat again, it's the Jiva Tvam Pada section. That means I am trying to know who am I in this first 6 chapters. The fourth chapter is called a Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. That means I learn to do actions with the knowledge that I am not the doer of action, but I am the Atma. This is where the knowledge of Atma, which I have learned in the second chapter, I start bringing it into my action. So when I mentally do the renunciation through knowledge, it is called as jnana sannyasa. I do karma sannyasa, but through jnana. Only in the mind you say, I am not the doer of action. The body is doing, the mind is doing. The sense organs are interacting with the sense objects, and that is what is called as vyavaharika satyam. It is called as interactions. That is how I learn step by step how to lead a good life. Here, Lord Krishna also says, you see in action. That means you know that you are Atma, never the doer of action. It is always a Sakshi. It is always not a doer. The body is a doer. The mind is a doer. These are the instruments which interact, but not Atma. Atma is ever pure, ever akarta. The fifth chapter is Sannyasa Yoga, and this one, there are 2 lifestyles which are mentioned. One is the yoga method, other is the Sankhya. Yoga means what? You follow the style of Pravrti Marga. Pravrti means you do Karma Yoga. You accumulate things, you accumulate wealth, all that is one style, one lifestyle. You become a grahastha, you are a married person, all of us are in the yoga lifestyle. There is a second method which is called a Sankhya. Sankhya in this particular chapter, the meaning is Nivritti Marga. It is not the knowledge which was there in the second chapter. Sankhya has got different meanings. So here it says that you physically renounce so that you can focus on the knowledge of Atma. Physically renouncing is called a Sannyasa Yoga. And then you focus on learning about Atma. The 6th chapter is a brilliant chapter for meditation. Suppose you want to learn meditation. You see, Bhagavad Gita can be used by many people in different ways. Some people come to Bhagavad Gita to learn how to improve life. Some people come to Bhagavad Gita to learn meditation. Some people come to Bhagavad Gita to know about Atma. So Bhagavad Gita is, has been used by so many different types of people. And Mahatma Gandhi, who said that I have learned so much from the Bhagavad Gita, he says, almost all my life I have been using Bhagavad Gita in my life. So many different authors have translated Bhagavad Gita into so many different languages, German language. A friend of mine has just now translating all these lectures of mine into Portuguese language in Brazil. So you can imagine there's so much interest in this particular text. So here, Meditation is the sixth chapter, Dhyana Yoga. It tells us very step by step, it teaches how I can meditate, what are the external sadhanas, that means from the external body point of view, Bahiranga sadhana, that is, then how do I keep my body erect and so on. Antaraka sadhana means what happens with my sense organs, what happens with my mind while meditating, what is the process of meditation, what are the obstacles in meditation, what is the benefit of meditation. These are all beautifully described in the sixth chapter called as Dhyana Yoga. Then Arjuna asks a question to Lord Krishna. He says, okay, I find this all very good. Okay, you can meditate on Atma and so on, but tell me I have a simple question. Suppose there is a person who has tried to learn this Atma, but he has not fulfilled completely his knowledge. It means he has not completed his study. What happens to him? Does all his knowledge go waste? In this chapter, a beautiful question is asked by Arjuna to Lord Krishna. This was asked to me by several of my other colleagues who were doing this study with me. Similar question they themselves asked. So here the answer to that is yoga brashta. This means the knowledge which you gain in this life does not get wasted. It gives the fruit in the next birth. When you come into the next birth, Lord Krishna reveals here in this chapter, he says, you will find a body in a particular family, which in a particular surrounding, which will start your journey from where you left in this birth. So, no learning of the Bhagavad Gita gets too wasted, is never wasted. That is what he reveals in the sixth chapter. So, in the first six chapters are Jiva Tvam Pada. That means all about me, the Jiva. The next six sections are called as Tat Pada, and this is all about Ishvara, God. Who is God? What is his nature? How can I see God in this universe? All this is described in this section starting from 7 to 12. Chapter 7 is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. I'm giving you just a gist so that you can get an idea of what is the whole Bhagavad Gita. If you listen to these carefully, you will find that Atma discussion keeps on coming everywhere. That is the basic underlying which the God wants to reveal to us. Here in the when Lord Krishna describes what is jnana and what is vijnana. Vijnana means knowledge of para prakriti. Para prakriti means knowledge of consciousness. And what is jnana? Jnana means it is knowledge of the world. Anatma. Anatma means not Atma. So he coins two Sanskrit words and he describes what is the knowledge of Atma, what is the knowledge of Anatma, and what should be your attitude to the Lord. It should be a reverential attitude, and you should have reverential action to the Lord. These are the four topics discussed in the 7th chapter. That means what is the knowledge of Atma with reference to the entire creation. It is in the light of consciousness we see the entire universe. One light. Earlier it was said, I see in my body through my light in me, I can see the thoughts. But now here he starts saying it is para prakriti, apara prakriti. Two different nature. The 8th chapter is Akshara Brahma Yoga. Here it's a very technical chapter. It's an aside topic. It is not. It is an in-between topic, and here it takes some miscellaneous topics. The 7 questions which Arjuna asks is Brahma. What is Brahma? What is Adhyatma? These are all technical 6 terms which Arjuna wants to know. The Lord describes each one of them. He gives definitions of this. They are all related to the Brahma Vidya, but they are just definitions. And a very beautiful section comes here. And Arjuna has asked this question, how can I meditate on Omkara at the time of death? See, Omkara is a very, very beautiful meditation. It's called Om meditation. So, Lord says you can meditate at the time of death on the word Om. And how to meditate on that is throughout your life you should be meditating so that at the last minute it comes to you spontaneously. And chanting the word Om, if you are able to leave from this body, he says liberation is 100% guaranteed. 9th chapter is Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya Yoga. Raja Vidya means it's a wealth belonging to Rajas. It's a very, very great divine wealth, this knowledge of Atma. And it is Guhyam, Raja Guhyam. Guhyam means it's a secret. The knowledge of Atma is very divine knowledge. At the same time, it is very secretive knowledge because it is not normally known to a layman. If you ask anybody who doesn't know, generally people, if you ask, they wouldn't know. They know that they are the body, mind, and then they live throughout the life. That's all. So here the Lord says that he is the Srishti Sthiti Laya Karana. That means he is the creator, he is the maintainer and the dissolution of the entire universe. Lord here means what? The pure consciousness principle. That consciousness, that awareness principle comes in manifest and unmanifest form. The world comes in manifest and unmanifest form. What remains the same is the Lord, which is the awareness, pure awareness, consciousness. In Tamil, they say unarvu, awareness. So this consciousness is what is the substratum for the whole universe. And then when you look at that pure consciousness by as pure without the world, that reality is called as paramarthikam. It is called as absolute. Why is it called absolute? Because it is not changing. Whereas the waking, dream, sleep, all the 3 states are coming and going, the world is coming and going. Atma is something which is other than the 3 bodies, other than the 3 states, other than the 5 koshas. So basically what the world is coming and going. Manifest means it is appearing for the mind. My mind sees it through the sense organs. Your mind sees it when you're awake. And when you're sleeping, the whole world collapses into that consciousness. Then he talks about 2 types of bhakti. Bhakti means devotion. When you do devotion to the Lord, you go to a temple, you ask for, Lord, give me, I'm poor, I want to have food. Dharma, artha, kama. When you go for that, it's called a sakama bhakti. That means with desire. There's another bhakti which is nishkama bhakti, which is called as going to the Lord and saying, I want to know you. Who are you? That is called as nishkama. I don't want the world, I want you. That is called as the knowledge of the Lord in its purest form. So that is why this is called as the highest jnanam, which is Raja Vidya. Raja Guhya means the highest secret. The greatest secret is the secret of the Lord in our heart. The 10th and the 11th chapters are beautiful chapters which whenever you see the TV or something and they want to show Bhagavad Gita, they'll show Vibhuti Yoga and Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. These are the 2 main chapters which are shown in televisions. Mahabharata, they will show these 2 chapters in a big way. Vibhuti Yoga means the Lord has got glories. In this chapter, 75 glories of the Lord are described. The Lord is this, the Lord is the mountains, the Lord is the rivers, the Lord is everything you see in the world is the Lord, because each thing in this creation is His glory. And the greatest glory is in the 20th verse of this chapter. Chapter 10, verse 20. Aham Atma Gudakesha. The Lord says, I am in you, Arjuna, as Aham. In all of us, we all have this notion, I. You get up in the morning, you say I. That awareness principle is called as I, which makes the mind function. That Aham is the Lord. Very beautifully, the Lord says, that is the first glory the Lord says in the 10th chapter. The first glory of mine is, I am present in all the bodies as Aham. Aham Atma Gudakesha. So, when we look at the whole universe, all the beings as Atma, we can say we are all universally one principle, which is consciousness or awareness. When we look at the body, we will say we are different. The entire world is the glory of the Lord. Seeing one in many is described in the 10th chapter. One means seeing one God principle expressing as the whole world. This is technically this is called as Adhyaropa. Adhyaropa means it is one pervading the whole universe. One principle, consciousness, existence principle, which pervades the whole universe. All these explanations of mine are generally with reference to Vedanta. You see, I'm now talking purely from Vedantic point of view with two objectives. One, to learn what I can learn practically from the Gita. That is, I become aware of my mind. Pure awareness is aware of the mind. And the second objective is to know more about this awareness. Next, 11th chapter is seeing the entire universe in one. The 10th chapter is one in many. Here it is many in one. This is the difference between the two chapters. Vishwarupa Darshana. Arjuna says, oh Lord, you have described me how you are the whole world. Now you tell me you are Purushottama. You are the Lord. In you, everything is coming and going. Now show me your form. I want to see the whole world in your form. So this is the beautiful section which is giving the vision of the whole universe in the one form of Lord Krishna. It's got wonder, it's got fear, it's got devotion, three main areas, three main darshanams. And Lord says in the end, you have a balanced view of the universe, in which there is both good and bad. There is birth and death. There is light, there is darkness. There is victory, there is defeat. Pairs of opposites exist in the universe because that is the law of nature. This is how the Lord has created so that the human can come into the world, enjoy the fruits of his past actions, sukham and dukham, and then leave the world. So Vishwarupa Darshanam is the 11th chapter. The 12th chapter is Bhakti Yoga. A lot of people, devotees, they love this chapter because it is devotion. This is a wonderful chapter and it talks about Karma Yoga, devotion through Karma Yoga, which I have already described to you as Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasad Buddhi. Then it talks to devotion from Upasana point of view, from meditating point of view. From meditation point of view, devotion is expressed as Eka Rupa. That means I can see the Lord as Lord Krishna or Vishnu, Devi, one form. Or Aneka Rupa. Aneka Rupa is the Vishwarupa, which he showed us in the 11th chapter. And then the third form of devotion is Jnana Yoga. I express my love to that higher principle, which is the Nirguna Rupa. Nirguna Rupa means the pure consciousness without the gunas. And here he says, the one who is devoted into this Nirguna form is called as Parabhakta. And he describes 36 qualities of a Bhakta. Very interesting area. The third section is called as Asipada. That means Tattvam Asi. Asi means oneness. Oneness between the Jiva and Ishvara. And this, whenever we talk of oneness, it is called as Jnana Yoga. The first one was called as Karma Yoga. Now, second portion was called as Bhakti Yoga. Now we are coming to Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means what? Trying to know the real nature of mind and the real nature. Real means the pure consciousness principle. In the 13th chapter, Arjuna asks 6 questions, technical questions, like the 8th chapter. And what are the technical terms he wants to know? Kshetram, Prakriti, Purusha. Kshetrajna, Purusha, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, and Jneyam. So, Kshetram, Prakriti, they all mean the same thing. Kshetram, Prakriti, they mean the same. Purusha, Kshetrajna, and Jneyam, these 3 terms means the observing principle, the Sakshi principle. Kshetram and Prakriti means matter principle. So he basically is asking the Lord to explain to him what is Atma, the consciousness observer in the body, and what is Anatma, which is the matter principle. So here we are learning Atma, Anatma, Viveka. And then here, Jnanam is defined as the values which we must cultivate, the virtues which we must cultivate. So people who want to know more about how to purify the mind, they should learn more from the 13th chapter. 20 virtues are given. The 14th chapter is the study of the mind, analyzes the climate of the mind. Morning when I get up, I'm very, very pure. When it comes to afternoon, I become agitated. Evening, I want to sleep, lazy. These 3 climates of the mind is called as Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Sattva means when all my sense organs are alert and they are getting the knowledge of the world very well. Sattvic mood. They are called as gunas. Rajas means there's a lot of action. I want to do action. Throughout the day, I want to go here, go there. I want to see the world. I want to travel around the world. That's all Rajasic. And Tamasic is I'm lazy. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be acting. I don't want to learn anything. I just want to sleep. That is the Tamasic mind. So in this chapter, it is a study, a beautiful study of the human mind. It tells me what are the indicators, what is the definition of Sattva, what is the definition of Rajas, what is the definition of Tamas. How are these 3 qualities, how do they bind me? What are the indicators by which I can know in which mood I am? And what is the benefit of knowing this gunas? When I take these 18 topics, a lot of people tell me, I don't want to learn other 17 chapters, teach me only 14 chapter. Because they're all interested to know how the mind works. Very nice chapter. It also tells what happens to a person who is without the 3 gunas affecting him. That means he is attached to the Atma, he is not attached to the gunas of the mind. That is called as Gunatita indicators. Like how you have the Bhakta in the 12th chapter, what are the descriptions of the Bhakta? What is the description in the 2nd chapter of the Sthira Prajna? The same descriptions are given for a Gunatita, which is a person who is beyond the 3 gunas, which means he is attached to the Atma. He knows I am pure consciousness. The 15th chapter is again a Jnana Yoga topic. These three chapters, 13, 14, 15, they are focused to teach us on how can I differentiate the Atma from the mind. These three chapters, that is why they are called as Jnana Yoga. They are teaching us, the Lord reveals to us that I am pure consciousness. That is what is my real nature. But here in these three chapters, like he described in the second chapter, verse 12 to 25, he describes in these three chapters the way I can learn to see that consciousness in me. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is a teaching for me to know my own nature. So whenever we are learning these chapters, we must learn to note that I am learning something new. I'm learning something about pure awareness. And I'm learning to know how I can try to differentiate that awareness principle from the body, from the mind, from the matter objects. So here the tree of samsara is described first. Viveka and Vairagya are the two swords by which we can cut the tree of the problems of the mind. The Lord is described as Shara Purusha. That means the same consciousness, when it is manifesting as the world, it is called as Shara Purusha, means perishable. Akshara Purusha means it doesn't perish. Unmanifest, the same in unmanifest form is called as Akshara. The world when it comes to sleep state, it is in the unmanifest form. And Uttama Purusha means what? It is beyond the manifest and unmanifest. It is called as the pure consciousness. The 16th chapter is Daiva Asura Sampat Vibhaga. What are the qualities I should learn to cultivate to become a liberated person? That is called as Daivi Sampat. What are the Asuri Sampat? What are the negative qualities I should drop? Like desire, anger, greed. These are all binding me. Binding me means what? Binding the consciousness in the body. My objective is what? To remove this consciousness away from the body. To see it, to know more about it. That is a small chapter. The 17th chapter is Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga. The three types of different aspects are being described. That means the whole world can be described as Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The Lord in the 17th and 18th chapters, he takes certain aspects. In the 17th chapter, he takes faith. What are the three types of faith? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. What are the three types of food? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Three types of worship? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Austerities. What are the wrong austerities, like tapas and all that? What are the right austerities? What are the wrong austerities? He will describe. Then charity. These are the 5 aspects he discusses, and he divides them into Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Uttering, and then he says in this 17th chapter, he says, when you utter Om Tat Sat, and with the right attitude, these 3 words, then your wrong actions can also be transformed into right actions. That means suppose you do a ritual wrongly or you utter something wrongly, at the end you say Om Tat Sat. That means you pray to the Lord and say, okay, it was not a deliberate mistake. It just happened. I chanted wrongly. And therefore, by chanting these 3 words, he says you can convert that mistake into, that error can be corrected. The last chapter is the 18th chapter, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. And here he again, I told you that there are 3 types of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. He again divides renunciation into Sattva. What is Sattvic renunciation, Rajasic renunciation, Sattvic knowledge, Sattvic action, what is the Sattvic doer? So he takes 5, 6 here, renunciation, knowledge, action, doer, intellect, willpower, happiness. See, why he does this is he wants to purify the mind. And this is by knowing how the mind behaves in these three formats, the Lord is teaching us how to purify the mind in order to know Atma. And the 18th chapter is a concluding chapter. It describes to us what is Karma Yoga in short. Again, this is a concluding chapter, therefore he revises all the topics which he has discussed before in the 17 chapters. Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. And then he says, for those who surrender to me, the Lord, that means a consciousness in this body, he says, success is assured for them. They will be free from the identification to the body and mind. This is the ultimate benefit of the study of Bhagavad Gita. So in this short 1.5 hours, I tried to give you a short glimpse. That was my objective today. Next week, we will start Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the first chapter. We'll complete the first chapter next week. It's a short chapter. I won't be talking too much about the first chapter because the first chapter is full of history. So with this, I conclude today's session, and what I will do is I will chant the concluding prayer, and after that, if there is some, I'll make some announcements. And Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudacchade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Prasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Yeah, I just have two short announcements. One is that, in my group, there are a lot of people who have come in today, like Gilberto, you have come, there are a lot of people who have come today and joined today. I have another small WhatsApp group, which is called as Divine Quotations Group. So I will be sending you a WhatsApp message now. In case you want to join the quotations group, some people, of course, they wouldn't like to have too many disturbance in the WhatsApp. But if you are interested in the WhatsApp Divine Quotations group, you can join. I will send you the link for that. The second announcement is I want to, in case there are some people who are interested to join my Wednesday class on Sat Darshanam. If you're free, it's at 4 o'clock Indian time and 6:30 p.m. Singapore time. If you're interested in Sat Darshanam, I just started the class last week. I'm in the first 2 verses. So if you are interested in another discourse, you can join on Wednesdays. I will send you a link for that also. If you're not already there, you can join. Now, I will see if there are any questions. Do you have any questions at the moment? I'm not sure whether I'll be able to open up the chat box. Okay.
Any fees we have to pay? Make payment any fees for this class, Bhagavad Gita?
No fees, Vaidyanathan. There is no fees. It's all free of cost. It's because this is pure knowledge which has come to me from gurus who have never charged for any fees. So when I speak, there is no fees, and that's it.
Very good, sir. Very good, sir.
So you can join again next week with the same
ID,
and I will be circulating the notes through the email as well as the WhatsApp and also the video. So you will get the notes of this through the video, and otherwise there is nothing else from my side. Does anybody else has any questions?
I just can't resist saying something.
Yeah, tell me, Shama.
Namaste, Shikuji. And
Yes.
I'm only saying, my God, this is absolutely brilliant. simply brilliant. I have no questions. No, this is brilliant. Yeah, so I can only say thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you, Shama. Shama is from London. She's just she joins me for the Wednesday group as well.
Yeah.
She is an extremely keen seeker, and I can see she does so many sessions. My God. Anybody else has any other questions or any other comments? If there are no other questions or comments, then what we will do is I'll catch up with you next week, and we'll continue the first chapter. And this series of talks is purely for either getting an introduction to Gita or revising the Gita, because my focus is not to go verse by verse, because that is going to take 5 years to complete the Gita. So here I'm going to give you the gist, and I will also explain to you how you can do a self-study through the notes which are there, short notes which are there in the in my website. If you need it, I can just forward it through a link, the short notes, so that verse by verse you can understand. As we do the chapters, you can go through verse by verse also. And if you have questions on any aspects of the study, how to study or what to study, you can write to me personally. Or if you have any particular questions related to the chapter which I do on a particular week, you can send me the questions. I will try to answer those questions whenever these sessions happen. Thank you very much, and we'll catch up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.